Hello YouTube, what's up? Genki desu ka? Genki desu. I'm good. So this is just, a thought of mine on what's called, I think, the Japanese pathway. I recorded a few videos before this and I was kind of rambling. And, basically, for a lot of people when they want to learn Japanese, there's this massive mountainous entry hurdle, and it's called Japanese characters. And most people do not believe they can learn these characters, or do not know how they can learn these characters without taking like a long periods of time. And for me, what ended up happening was I found a way to learn the characters that gave me a vision into the future, what I could be able to do. I mean, obviously anybody can sit down and say, oh, today I'm looking at a page of Japanese Japanese sentences that I can't read, and one day I will be able to read it. But it's another thing if you know that using a systematic approach you will be able to read those sentences in a certain period of time. So what I stumbled upon one day was a website called alljapaneseallthetime.com, and on this website, you had this guy who taught himself native level Japanese in about 2 years outside of Japan. Now some people believe this is true, some people don't, but reading through the guy's blogs, I saw that he's a very passionate person. He's very different, and also a little crazy, because you have to be to put that much effort into solo language learning outside a native country. But I like the idea of what he was saying in terms of immersion and really being gung-ho about what you're going for. Because my original plan when I went to Japan was to only watch Japanese TV, read as much Japanese as possible, and somehow take Japanese classes. I didn't realize that some of those original goals I had mirrored some of the system. In fact, most people who teach themselves languages very well, whether it's Spanish, Japanese, whatever, usually do that. They just watch a lot of content in the native language. They practice reading and writing a lot. But like I said, Japanese has a massive entry hurdle, which is reading Japanese kanji. And kanji are the characters imported from China. So in my previous research, I saw that the Japanese high school system, it takes them about 8 years to learn the 2,000 or so characters that you need to be able to read basic documents and so on. And I mean, how many adults want to really take 8 years to learn language? Not many, me included. So when I found out that someone had used a system called the Heisig method, which I had tried before but never completed, I saw that there was a way I could actually eventually be reading Japanese sentences. So real quick, the Heisig method is a system of remembering how to read and write Japanese characters using your imaginative memory. You can Google it on the internet. There are millions of explanations there, but I found this system and I'd used it before, but this was outside Japan. And back then, I was like, well, why am I going to learn 2,000 characters and I have no way to really translate them or whatever. This was like 5-6 years ago. But then I was in Japan now, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll increase the frequency of my exposure to these kanji even if they're in English. And I started learning some kanji with the Heisig method, and lo and behold, I had a sort of epiphany day when I was teaching in a Japanese junior high school, and on one of the worksheets, it was an English worksheet, I was assisting a Japanese teacher, and a Japanese teacher said something, I think a student said something like, "Chocolate cake wo daisuki desu." And I know daisuki from just hearing people say it all the time. It means I like a lot, or I really like. So they said chocolate cake, I really like chocolate cake. So I looked in a worksheet, and the worksheet said, in Japanese, it said, chocolate cake wo daisuki desu. And I saw the kanji for dai, which I knew was big, and I saw suki, which is fond of. So it's big, fond of. So I said, oh, daisuki. And that was the first time that I made that association without anyone explaining it to me. And I said, wow, this is crazy. I mean, I can read one Japanese sentence, maybe eventually I can read 10, maybe eventually I can read 50, 100, 1,000, okay? So That's how I started seeing that it was possible. If I could read and write the characters, then I could read manga eventually, at some point in the future. Maybe not today, maybe it's 6 months away, maybe 1 year away, but definitely not 10 years away. And that was like my first really big eye opener in terms of believing I could actually take that step. So in my next video, I'm going to talk about transitioning from the Heisig method to reading, and how my experience with transitioning from learning kanji in English to actually being able to read and write them in Japanese. Ganbatte.